ethos of being able to do it with as little skill as possible.
I could not tell until
Travis added a lot to the songs. You know, he could take a song and come in because he's a musical drummer. He's not a backbeat type guy. He brings it out, you know, and he can change the texture of a song. You know, with a lot of the stuff that he does a lot of fancy cymbal work and, you know, different types of beats. You know, he's not one of these 4/4 backbeat guys. So what he does add to the songs can make the song more memorable. I think when he came into the band, that is another area that raised the bar for Mark and Tom. I mean, Travis came in and his level of playing was very, very high. And they pretty much had to rise to that occasion and, you know, start getting their chops up to keep up with that guy, because he's bad.
The success of Blink182 has been a result of their writing, timing and attitude to themselves. But most of all, not taking themselves too seriously.
I think they've been real successful in everything that they've done because their timing is amazing, their attitudes are great, and they can laugh at themselves. They can laugh at themselves harder than they can laugh at anyone else, and with an attitude like that, it's hard to create a lot of enemies.
Bottom line, Blink, their success is just unabashed, you know, loyalty to their fan base, where their roots, where they came from, and they're not ashamed to just lay everything out there, you know, everything about themselves in their music, on stage, you know, everything, you know, they have there's no, you know, boundaries. I mean, nothing's hidden from the listener, from the audience, and that's really where their successes come from.
And a shitload of work.
Yeah.
You know, because all those things are great, but unless you're willing to work and push yourself and do what you have to do it, it won't matter for anything. So work is the biggest part.
I think it was pretty obvious right off the bat that they had some good songs with high energy, but it wasn't really until we got to doing vocals on the songs that I realized that some of those songs were actually really good and really catchy. I think I can even remember asking Mark at one point about one tune, and I was like, dude, that one's really good. Do you mind if like I cover that in my band, you know?
Well, I think they've become so successful because they're everything. They're not just, they write amazing pop hooks, but they're not just their music. You know, you have some of the best bands in the world that can go up on stage and stare at their shoes and nobody will pay attention, you know, but these guys are stand-up comedians on stage. You know, as much as I didn't want to enjoy their potty humor, I did. I laughed. I really laughed hard. And they are very witty, they're very funny. And a show is more than just the music. If you go along and sing along to the songs, that's one thing. But if you can buy into the entire culture that they created, the youth is cool, youth is juvenile, and it's supposed to be that way. They really caught the zeitgeist of American youth, especially around the time that in pop culture in general, in films and everything, you know, the very superficial teen movies were coming back. You know, it was very in vogue again to enjoy the silliness of being a teen.
Blink182 has been such a huge success for a multitude of reasons, and I think they've managed to package their show and their whole act with a few different components. You know, I mean, bringing Travis into the band was a big component as far as making the band a better band. They've become better players. They've stayed true to what they've been writing for many years. They haven't made massive changes and gone this way or that way. And I think they've main key thing is the reason behind why they started the band and why they have their band. And the main reason is because they enjoyed it and it was fun. And I think that the job of a band from the viewpoint of a fan is, okay, you know, you'll have a guy, his dog died, he got fired from his job and he wants to go out for a night, and their job is for an hour or whatever they're going to play to take that guy out of his miserable world for a little bit and, you know, make him forget about his woes. And I think the way that they come off and how they go out when they play and what they write about, people look at that and they forget their woes for 10 minutes or an hour if they're going to the show, however long they're playing, and they say, you know, wow, I want to be that guy, man. He's having a blast. Those guys are having fun.
I think they've been as successful as they are because they don't really understand what the success is that they're having. They still act like I don't want to say children, but they still act like, oh my God, you know, this is like, you know, they're still having as much fun, from what I can tell, as they were back in those days. They just, it's kind of like they're like wide-eyed children that are just kind of like soaking it all in. They haven't been jaded by it. From what I can tell, yeah, they can buy bigger houses than everybody else, but it's not like, you know, how long it will last, I don't know. But I think that's why they've been so successful, is because they don't really, they give a shit, but they're still kind of like looking at it as like this is, they still can't believe it's happening.
Of course, they do have an innate ability to write hooky songs. They come up with these cool little hooks that kids remember, they're memorable hooks, and then when they put off their show, they put it off well, and they have fun. And I think that's one of the key things where the audience views them as a band that says, you know, wow, these guys are having a blast, man. I want to be them. And I think that's probably one of the main things that keeps them where they're at.
The unique thing about Blink182 is their interaction on stage, and they built themselves into characters. They built themselves into, you know, music is so much more than the music itself. Blink's music was good, but then the image and the personality that they built up was the American Pie would make an entire movie, an entire series out of what Blink182 was.
And with all this frustration and constant masturbation, well, come on, mom, just leave me alone now.
When they started out having concerts, when they started out making CDs, and when I started hearing some of their songs and stuff, I never imagined that they would have worldwide success. I did not see that in the picture, and I'm thrilled that it happened for them.
One little phrase that Tom had said to me one night, which was kind of interesting. We were finishing some guitar tracks for, I think it was for Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. And Tom had struck a chord, and the chord kind of rang out, and his head was down, and he was just looking at his hands. And he says, I can't believe that I've become so successful doing something that so many other people are so much better than me at. And of course I quickly said, you mean like me? And he said, yeah, exactly. But I think it was a thing where he's come along with his playing. You know, I mean, if you sit there and if you gig as much as that band gigs and as much as they play and as much albums as they've made, you can't help but to get better. You know, so it's not a thing where all of a sudden he was this level and then he's playing like Steve Vai or something. I don't think he cares about it. I don't really think that was a concern of his. His concern is, you know, being good at what he does